Code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Sam, this is Kyle from Salt Lake City. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Kyle from Salt Lake City. What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to first say that, unfortunately, I was a victim of some looting that took place last week. Oh. And by a victim of looting, I mean that a private equity company acquired the company that I work for and fired 150 of us last week during a pandemic that had nothing to do with the pandemic. So, yeah, that was some cool looting that took place that I'm not seeing any outrage about. So I figured I would share because I think that's pretty egregious thing to do at this time.
It's unbelievable, and they clearly use the pandemic as an excuse. I mean, I think, frankly, there's a lot of that's going on.
So we got completely gutted, and yeah. So that was there was a good Onion article that was just like looters failed to form a private equity firm first, and that was where they went wrong before robbing a Target or whatever.
What was do you mind telling me the company or no?
Probably should keep it on the DL a little bit, but it was a tech company here in Salt Lake. Yeah,
Sorry
not going to go into any more detail than that on the company itself, but also, I mean, like, we've been doing super well too because we are online. We're a company that was benefiting from a lot of people spending a lot of time on their computers. I'll just say that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so I'll just briefly talk about the protests in Salt Lake if you'd like to hear. And
sure.
I could go into the All Lives Matter Archer as well because he's actually still not arrested. He did an interview from home
was
yesterday.
He in Salt Lake City?
Yeah.
All right. You know what? Let's play this. We were talking about this earlier. I don't know if we have the footage. There's two clips, right? We have the clip yesterday of him coming out. So the first clip is this guy basically driving his car into the middle of a protest and getting out, putting an arrow. I don't know if he had a quiver or what, putting an arrow into his bow, pulling back, firing the bow, missing a protester, and all right, so
also yelling "All Lives Matter" before taking aim at the protest.
Let's hear. Do we have this clip, Brendan? Okay, I'll play this one. There he is.
Look at this.
Why did you get my car?
You call yourself an American?
Yes, I'm American. All lives matter.
That's right, but they won't matter until we're. Don't you dare! This is his car. This is his car. What the?
Lock him up! Lock that bitch up!
So, and as far as I can tell, I don't know if there was a compound bow or not, but it doesn't matter. But it would if it hit you. And I mean, that's a hunting bow. And
yeah, so could I talk about like what happened with that whole thing? Because he tried to so that happened, and he immediately got pulled by the news who were there. And
well, wait a second, we have that clip, I think. So
okay.
He gets as you can see, he was rushed by all the protesters, and they beat him up. And Brendan, do you have the next clip?
I need to look for that.
Okay, and so he goes. Apparently, he goes to, I don't know if the hospital or where it was, but the local news interviews him. And apparently, I don't know how they didn't get the whole story.
No idea.
They did,
yeah, no clue.
And do you know that he's going to claim in this clip, as Brendan finds it, that his car was set on fire? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so it actually was. It was kind of confusing because, so this was on Saturday. The protest started pretty early, and it had been very peaceful throughout the morning and afternoon, mainly because the city and the police made a very conscious decision to let the protesters, do some graffiti, throw some eggs or whatever, and just march very peacefully. In fact, like, we were outside the precinct and all the cops were just inside, like, looking out. It's like a very glass building, and they were all just looking outside from inside the building. So they had made that conscious decision to not escalate things at a certain point. And I don't know what exactly flipped to make all the cops and the National Guard come out. But at some point, There was someone who was not happy with the protests. They ran into some protesters with their car. I didn't see that one on the news, but I have some friends who were right behind the car, and the cops got that one on video. And so soon after that, there was an empty cop car that was flipped over and lit on fire in the middle of a major road in Salt Lake. And that's when things really turned up a notch, and like the National Guard came in, our governor, and like a lot of the local Republican officials started like really freaking out about it. And so that's when they brought everyone in. And soon after that is when the archer showed up as well.
Okay. So the archer gets in his car, he sees this on TV probably, and he drives down there, gets out of his car.
Oh yeah.
With his car.
So we had been like monitoring, because on Twitter, we had been getting some like messages from guys who are like, I mean, so every time like Governor Herbert or whoever sends out a tweet about the protests, you get a bunch of guys that are like, if you guys don't protect the city, like we're going to show up and do that same thing. So I was expecting there to be some guys like that. We had seen some Proud Boys earlier in the day, but I didn't expect that type of weaponry from these militiamen. So yeah, so there, I mean, I expected someone to show up and kind of like be agitating people.
The guy's obviously somewhat disturbed, right? I mean,
absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
Which is not even to say that
because I saw a tweet that said his car had been burned, but it was a picture of the cop car. But it did turn out that his car was burned. I
got to be honest with you. I'm not surprised if his car was burnt, because he went out there with a compound bow and is firing at people. This is a bow that is, this is a hunting bow. This is not.
Yeah, did Brendan find the clip of him lying about what happened?
Well, here is the interview, and it's, look, you're going to go and interview somebody and get their side of the story. You may want to just sort of double check on this, but here is the news report. Go ahead.
You guys tell me your name one more time.
Brandon McCormick.
Brandon McCormick, he says his car was turned over and set on fire because he yelled, "All lives matter." What happened?
I got beat up. Well, first I got beat up when I yelled, "All lives matter." Then I pulled out weapons, then I got beat up some more. Then the cops grabbed me and my car got totaled, my phone, everything. I lost everything. Coming down here to try to protect them with what weapons I had, because I am a chick felon. I've changed my life, and I back up the law enforcement. I know some cops are bad. I know some people, all races are bad.
Did the police come and rescue you? What happened?
Finally. But I lost my car. I lost my phone.
How badly is your car damaged?
Well, I seen it on fire, so it's totaled. And everything I had, and I had probably another $1,000 worth of stuff in my car.
And what happened to the people who turned your car? Nothing.
I don't know if it got turned over. I just know it got totaled.
Can you ask him, was he in the car when the protesters approached him and tried to flip the car over?
Were you in the car when when they turned it over?
No, they didn't. I don't know if they turned it over or not. They beat me up, and the cops came and got me.
You were in the car at the time?
Yes, and then they torched it after the cops took me, including my phone. I can't even call for a ride. So I've been marching with these people all the way down here and all the way down here, trying to convince them all lives matter. These cops didn't do it. Some cops are bad. Some cops are
How did you get hurt on your forehead?
Because I yelled out my window, cops.
Did somebody hit you with something?
Yes, 2 black African Americans. They beat me through my open window that I yelled out, "All lives matter."
All right.
I mean, this is, the guy's just lying through his teeth. We just watched what happened. I mean, and I can assure you, far more people saw that local news report than the bow and arrow that came out and fired at somebody.
Sam, the good thing though is they did. If that was the Fox 13 clip, they did issue a correction later after getting the footage. But it was insane that they let him go on like that in the first place. And he is very disturbed, and him straight up saying it was African Americans that did that to him. You can see in the clip, it was mainly white people that were beating the shit out of him after he attempted to murder people. There were, tons of it was a very, very diverse crowd yesterday. You asked the Seattle guy what the age breakdown was. It was mainly a younger crowd, late teens, 20s and 30s. There were some older people as well. A lot of our local socialist groups were involved. PSL did a very peaceful protest yesterday to try to kind of fix the narrative that happened with local news here, because I mean, this is stuff like this doesn't really happen in Salt Lake very often. Despite having we don't have our police forces here don't have a very good track record, and so yeah, this was pretty big news on all the local channels. So yeah, it was. I mean, that guy is just something else. But it's at least they issued a correction later on in the evening.
Kyle, appreciate the phone call.